the system wasn't the problem. In my mind, it was our theological foundations. And I'd love for you to speak to that, maybe the difference between system and, because I feel like you were walking that fine line in this book as well.
That's really what birthed in the last draft, was recognizing that we have mislaid the blame. One thing I never do, because I did it once under internship and it was miserable, is marriage counseling. I despise it. I know I'll get a root canal and have more fun. I'm not doing that. But people get that with marriage, right? Where like you have a rough relationship. It takes a long time to kind of awaken to just how rough things really are. Usually couples don't come to that at the same time. One gets there faster than the other. One may really not agree at all as to the state of things. And we'll often leave things like that feeling marriage is a crock. I want nothing to do with this. No, I'm never getting married again. What are you talking about? Statistically, if you come from a home of divorce, you are 7 times more likely never to marry than someone who comes from an intact home.
Wow.
So, and again, no shame on marriage here. We all have these experiences where things don't pan out the way we want them to or expected them to. But when that happens, we reject the entirety of the system, of that which undergirded the whole thing, rather than acknowledging maybe this was human error. Maybe this was more the practice within the system than the system itself.
Right.
And we see this even in the way folks, we all have trigger points, right? Those things that just irk us. And I'm not going to answer this right now. I'm going to step away for a little bit. I'll come back to this. Maybe in a day, might be a month, but I'm not dealing with this right now. For me, it's this idea of I am the church. No, you're not. You might be an arm. You might be a leg. You might be an eye. You are not the body. Right. It's a plural. We collectively comprise the body. It makes us need each other, and we don't want to be dependent people. We don't want to need others, especially if people hurt you, which is inevitable, right?
Yeah.
But especially if you've been hurt, you want to back away from that risk. And so instead, you'll find the best videos out there, the best content that you can watch safely without any kind of commitment or buy-in. You pick and choose what you will engage with. And you call that experience you being the church. And you are a child of God. The family of God and the church are not synonyms. They're different things. But we can't make a word that literally means to assemble and gather.
Right.
We can't make that isolative.
Right.
We do have to step away sometimes to heal.
Right.
But the reconstructive process is always going to be communal. If Father, Son, and Spirit necessitate community in the very process in which the world is created, they set a tenor from square one that nothing is done alone. Nothing is in isolation. Everything is done in community, even the very creation of the world. We get these passages where the Father is referred to as the creator, and yet we get passages where Jesus is referred to as the one who creates and sustains all things. So now wait a minute. How does this work? We get the narrative in Genesis when Adam and Eve enter into some confusion, and the Trinity has their first plural dialogue of what are we going to do if we leave them here and let them keep eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, but yet they're going to pick up from that tree of life and live forever. We can't let them live like this forever in this diluted state. They transition them out, but the whole thing is us. What are we going to do? Every step of this journey is union and is communal.
Yeah.
Isolation and the fear of isolation produce more intrinsic harm than any other isolated thing I can connect in my mind. It's more than biological tendencies toward depression. It's more so than environmental factors. When we feel isolated, when we feel alone, it prompts fear, it prompts anger, it prompts rage. And in this whole laying out of how we address the system specifically, because I didn't actually forget the question. I momentarily forgot it, but I did come back to it.
Well done.
Don Keithley is who really got me thinking about this, where I in our conversations, I would make a statement and he'd point out a counterpoint. I would refine a statement that was in alignment with his counterpoint, and then he'd make a statement that was back where I started. And it put me in this secular. It was irritating at the time, but in hindsight, it put me in this thought pattern of both of these things are true.
Yeah.
That we cannot function without systems.
Yeah.
We the marital institution has innate value to a society.
Yeah.
The church from the very beginning, even if you read like the Didache, so we're talking early church history. It's being used and written by those who are the children of the first disciples, the spiritual children, sons and daughters of and it lays out very elaborate systems, very structured ways of gathering.
Right.
But yet we don't want the system to become the thing that we worship and the means by which the system is not God.
Yeah.
The system is a metric. It's a mechanism that we're able to engage with to reach into that. Like 1 Corinthians, right? We get chapter 12, chapter 14 are both talking about procedures and policies. How you are supposed to talk in tongues, when to tell the prophets to shut up. There's an entire section on that. 2 or 3 is enough. After that, silence them. That's not the Lord.
I've been in the meeting where 4 or 5 go, and they're right.
Heresy. And if we spend any time in charismatic circle, you've been there, right? Yeah,
I've been in that meeting.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
But then what do we get? We get policy in 12, policy in 14, but then we get 13, and we get this beautiful introduction. That's the last verse of chapter 12. That there is a still more excellent way, and it lays out this beautiful. Do we need policy? The fact he goes back to it in chapter 14 suggests we do. Do we need the structure, the undergirding? It seems to suggest we do, but there is a more excellent way. There is a place where we don't need the structure. There's a place where we so are able to operate in love that we don't need the training wheels. We don't need the bowling, the little walls on the side so you can't go in the gutters.
Right.
We don't need those. We can reach a place in relationship and in awareness of identity that all of these checks and balances are no longer necessary. But until that manifests in a very literal form, we need the undergirding. We need those governors and tutors, those things holding us up as we learn.